I'm not spilling tea. It's like suddenly gone cold in the UK and rain, so that's hot chocolate. Today I'm going to talk about a topic that about this time last year I was very obsessed with as I was preparing to go to uni, and that's talking about uni hauls. I'm very sorry this video is not filmed actually in my uni bedroom, but I'm back at my parents and I needed to film a video. So like I said, I have seen many videos talking about living in uni halls, and I also watched one by a channel called Being Louisa, which is the channel I love. She's a midwifery student, also studying in London at a different university to me, and I started watching her when she was doing her access videos, because I noticed that loads of people watching my access to nursing and midwifery video from hers and vice versa. So I started watching some of her videos and I follow her on YouTube. And she did this video, like a pros and cons, quite recently. But I've just got a few categories and I thought I'd kind of sit down, have a drink and have a little chat with you with my experience of this within uni halls. So I'm going to use my phone. Okay, so the first thing I've written down is my bedroom. I was so lucky. So I had a non-ensuite bedroom in my uni halls, and it was a listed building, so my bedroom was huge. I had a double window, I had a queen size bed, I had like massive wardrobe, shelves, like a little set of drawers, space underneath my bed. It was really, really, really cool. I also had hardwood floors, and all the other rooms, because I basically moved into a uni kind of like hall of residence which had 4 new blocks and 1 old block, and it just used to be the old block, and I moved into the old block, the listed building. All the other buildings are new, and they all had like carpet, and they were much smaller, and they looked almost like cheap hotel rooms. Not like in a bad way, they just looked a little bit like you'd gone to Premier Inn and stuff like that. They're all like, it's all quite new, all the interior is quite new, because it was kind of, those buildings were only built a few years ago, and like it was sort of like they did all the insides as well. So personally, my space was great. And then I didn't have an ensuite room. However, I got a shower and a sink in my room. The only thing I shared was toilets, and we had 2 toilets between 8 of us. I was so lucky with my room and stuff, considering the price I paid in London. Then I want to talk about the kitchen. So our kitchen was on the smaller side compared to a lot of the kitchens in the newer builds, and even some in the old building where it was just like in a different layout area. We had 2 cookers, 2 fridge freezers, 2 hobs, 2 microwaves for 8 people, so in theory it's quite easy. We never really had massive problems cooking unless literally all of us were in the same time, and that probably happened twice while I was there. And a lot of us were nursing students, so when we were on placement we were working different hours, so we weren't all in the kitchen at the same time anyway. But my thing about the kitchen mainly is it's not like being at your parents'. It's not clean and tidy. People don't do their washing up straight away. It can get really messy. You have people who have never wiped a counter before in their life. However, our kitchen and our shared toilets got cleaned once a week, and our bins got emptied in the kitchen twice a week, which was really good. So once a week, normally on a Monday, you'd come in to make your lunch if you weren't at uni or on placement, and you'd actually have a clean kitchen. Quite a nice experience. The next thing I've got written down is the living room. So in our kitchen we did have 2 tables, and you could probably fit 4 to 6 of us around the table depending on how much of a squeeze it was. We did manage to get like 12 people in there for Christmas, but that was a struggle. And everyone was really, really packed. And we also had a TV in our kitchen. However, we didn't have, like, you had to plug it into like your laptop or something. It wasn't connected to anything. And that was great, but like I said, our kitchen wasn't huge for the amount of people in there, so other flats in the halls did have sofas and things like that in their kitchen, whereas ours was quite small. The chairs were actually quite uncomfortable at the kitchen table, so we used to like drag our computer chairs in if we were putting a film on, or just sit quite uncomfortably. And it's not like you want to sit on the floor, because the floor's gross in your kitchen. And so yeah, we didn't have a living room. My whole residence had a common room, and it was actually in our building, so it's quite close to where we were. No one used it. It was just sort of that thing that was there. I think the most it's been used is in the last couple of weeks where they've had summer school kids, and that's where they have their like breakfast in the morning. Next thing I've got written down is garden. Now, most uni halls will not have green space or green areas. Ours was so well designed, and actually when I looked at it, it kind of reminded me of like how you saw like unis in like teen films for America, because like it had grass, we had like a tiny little pond with like a bridge, we had chairs and seating outside. It wasn't a huge amount of space, but there were several days in the summer where we'd just go out there and revise with our books, and go out and sit there with like a glass of wine and stuff. So it was quite nice to have somewhere green that the sun got to. It wasn't all shadowed by other buildings, so that was really nice. Most uni halls, in my knowledge, don't have that. And also it's not your own garden, so you can't hang washing up out there. You can't like have a barbecue or anything like that, but you do have some green space where I was living, which is really, really nice. The next thing was car. This to most students isn't a big deal. They've either never had a car because they've just turned 18, maybe they haven't got a driving licence yet, maybe they have but they didn't bother buying a car because they knew they're going to uni. For some people they've had a car because they maybe took a gap year, or their birthday's right, they kind of like pass their test when they're 17 in like their birthday's right in September or something, so they've had a car for about a year or so. I have friends who sold their car, and I also have friends who, like me, left their car at their parents'. But you, in my experience where I was living, didn't have anywhere to park your car. They were really, really accommodating in moving in, so parents and stuff could drive up and like unload. They do have like a little kind of car parking sort of area, but that's for disabled parking only or for staff. And then I thought I'd talk about a few of the other little things that I had in uni. So we didn't have a washing machine or a dryer or anything like that in the kitchen. You generally don't in universities, however you do have a laundry room. I found this was particularly expensive. So obviously you have to pay water and stuff if you just got one in your house. But to use the washing machine was £2.50. No, £2.50. I think it was. I know altogether it worked out at £4.50. Maybe it was £3. It was really, really expensive. Maybe it was only £4. Okay, whatever. Basically, I think it was like £2.50 to use the washing machine. And then you still have to buy your own detergent and put that in there as well. I bought colour catchers because the washing machines are quite big, so you can get a lot in. So if I wasn't having to wash uniform, I'd do 2 loads at once. But basically, I'd have colour catchers in there, which is expensive, but you get a lot, so actually they're not that expensive. I think they worked for like 10p a sheet. I spent like £5 at the beginning of the year and got like 40, 50, I can't remember. And then you also then have to pay to dry it as well. So unless you want to put an air up in your room, which I know some people did, but I was doing massive loads of laundry to save on having to do it often, so then using an air was going to take up loads. The only time I really put stuff on my radiator or anything like that was towels, because they get very wet and heavy, so you kind of want to wash them a little bit and dry them. They just keep everything wet if you put them in the dryer. And the dryer was another £1.50, so a whole load of washing would have cost you £4 without taking in consideration of detergents and stuff like that. We had a gym which was totally free to use, and it was open from like 5 AM in the morning to like 9 PM at night. And if you're in at 9 PM, you didn't get like chucked out because it wasn't like anyone watching it. You could basically just stay there all night if you wanted to. And the gym equipment was so cool. You could get onto the internet, you could watch TV while you're at the gym, which was really, really nice. It kind of made you sit on a bike and pedal for an hour watching Casualty or whatever on a Saturday night. And then we had a weights room next to it, so I mainly stayed in the kind of cardio, but lots of my friends did the weights. I lived with a couple of guys who quite liked that as well. We also had a music room, which I believe had like a piano in it, but it was also soundproof, so if you wanted to practice music sort of out of hours, you were more than welcome to go use that. And they had a printer, which was great, except I have had to print about 5-10 things for uni. Majority of what I needed to do is all online. And then I did bring my printer to uni, which would have been really useful, and I think I would have printed out more because it's mine. I buy the ink, I know how much I'm spending. However, it just never worked, never connected to the internet in a way that would let me use it. So I'm going to take it to my new house and hopefully it will work there, but it was a bit annoying, to be honest. So it did have a printer that you could use. I generally just printed out at uni because it'd be printing out something for that day's lecture, just get in 5 minutes early, use it, as the printer was a little bit dodgy, it wasn't always working, so it wasn't the best to rely on. Oh, we also had a bike shed, which is quite useful if you live in London and you want to ride your bike. Several people like did this. I am not the strongest cyclist, so I did not bring a bike to London. I don't even own a bike, but I can understand why it would be a real benefit. It would. Okay, so next on my list I have flatmates. This is one of the big things. I was so lucky with my flat. Okay, I did live with a couple of people who weren't the tidiest or cleanest. Not majority of my flat was absolutely great and we were all moaning about it all the time. There was just a couple. However, I have heard stories and I've had people, so we kind of had people move into our flat kind of 6 weeks in, and people move out, and people who are also around who just really didn't get on with their flatmates. And it's not necessarily that they did anything wrong, they just didn't get on with them. Some people had horrible flatmates, I've heard stories. I was just very lucky that I moved in with a really great group of people. And I think one of the best things about moving into halls is this instant socialness of living in that kind of area. Like, you meet so many other students who are in the same boat as you, most of them are first years. It was really, really good. So next I'm going to talk about food shopping, and this will be kind of dependent on where your university halls are based. I was living in Zone 2 London, which had its benefits because it meant that we actually had quite a large Sainsbury's 5-10 minutes walk from where I was living. However, I also lived on a hill, so carrying it back up the hill was a bit of a pain. Sainsbury's isn't the cheapest shop. I did have a sort of local Morrison's, which again was sort of 15 minutes walk from where I was living, and I used to walk past it a lot on the way to and from uni and work, so I'd pop in there quite a bit. That was slightly cheaper for some stuff and not for others. We had a larger Morrison's kind of further down the road, which was sort of like 10 minutes from the bus. I never really used that one, to be honest, because if I was doing a big shop and I wanted to get on a bus, I wouldn't go to Morrison's or Sainsbury's. We did have an Asda, which was about 20 minutes away. Again, that's sort of like a maybe half an hour walk, 20 minutes, 15 minutes on a bus. But I didn't really use the Asda much either, only if I was in that area already. I used to like going to Lidl's, so I would try and go to Lidl's once a month and proper stock up on like frozen stuff, meat, things like cereal bars, individual boxes of juice, which are really expensive but so good when you're having to get up early in the morning, and for placement you really do. What other stuff did I used to buy? I used to buy their porridge pots because they're really cheap in there and I love them. The porridge pots in like Sainsbury's and Asda and places like that are normally like double, triple the price. And just like all my basics that I could, which were cheaper there, stuff like pasta, rice, it was cheaper in there. And although paying 80p for a bag of rice, a bag of pasta in Sainsbury's doesn't seem like a big deal, when you're then going and spending 20, 30, 40p on a bag of pasta, you realise that that money adds up. So I try and do a big bulk shop once a month in Lidl's, and I do have a shopping trolley because I didn't have my car. However, I would then have to do top-up shops, and I would often do them in places like Sainsbury's and Morrison's, and this would be for bread, fresh fruit and veg, anything else I'd run out of, occasionally milk and eggs and stuff like that, but I try to do my main shops in some of the cheaper shops. There's also an Aldi not far from where I'm moving to next year, so that's also great because a lot of the things in Lidl are kind of similar prices over there. So the next thing I got is cooking, because I took with me a small saucepan, a medium-sized saucepan, a giant wok kind of style frying pan, and that was all great, but I was finding that I was ending up using like the smaller saucepans to fry stuff if it wasn't like need flipping, because the big wok was such a pain to like wash when you cook like 5 tomatoes, like 5 little tomatoes or like some mushrooms in it, or you just wanted to fry an onion to cook a meal. So what I did was when I went camping earlier on this year in May kind of time, I bought sort of a smaller frying pan which is quite deep. And it was deep enough for me to boil like enough pasta for 3 people in like while camping, but shallow enough that was really easy to use another frying pan. And it was also induction, so I brought it back and I used that. That has been like so useful since I've got back. Unfortunately it doesn't match my other saucepans and stuff, but I can live with that because it's really useful. And then I didn't use so many of the cooking stuff I bought. I bought like a set of 2 chopping boards. One of them I used until I got a decent hard chopping board because I bought the flimsy ones. The other one's still probably in its packet. I used most of the Tupperware I bought, to be fair, but I bought sort of a pack of like 5 knives. And when I first moved in, because I moved in early, the kitchen was a mess because it hadn't been cleaned yet from the summer. So I kept everything that wasn't needing to go in a fridge or a freezer in my room and just took bits in slowly. That meant throughout the whole year, the pack of 5 knives I bought with a peeler, I've used a peeler, a medium-sized knife and a large knife. I've been like buying fresh bread and not even using the bread knife because it's in my room, so that I'm going to change next year. But you don't need like a whole big set of knives. If you're going away, I would suggest just getting like a little paring knife, like a small one you can do small chopping with, and a big one to do bigger chopping with. Peelers have been really useful because I eat loads of potatoes. Did not know this, but I do eat a lot of potatoes, and I buy a lot of fresh carrots, so peelers have been very useful. I found cooking was not that bad. However, I am very used to cooking living at home. I was working with shifts beforehand, so I was very used to coming home, making myself dinner when my parents had already eaten something or my family had already eaten something. And also the job I did meant that I did a lot of cooking from scratch at work, because I was working as a support worker, so I'd often cook people meals as part of my job. I was quite confident with cooking. Not everyone is when they come to uni, so if you are, it's really nice to help someone out and teach them. One of my other flatmates, which was quite good at cooking, taught one of the other ones to make a lasagna, and it was so cool to watch her like not use jars and make a lasagna, and she loved it, and it was really nice. Like we all cooked Christmas dinner together, and that was such a nice experience because you had people that were really good at cooking and people that weren't so good at cooking all learning how to make a roast dinner, and that was really cool. And also it was really nice to see people be kind of inspired by food and cooking, because people who had never had to do it before were learning how to do it and actually going, oh, I really want to make like this on the weekend and stuff like that. Noise levels. This is the next thing on my list. This will vary depending what kind of degree you're doing it, how much this affects you. I often had 9 AM lectures, and I often had 7:30 starts, and for both those things I'd have to leave sort of an hour earlier than I need to be there. And so I found that uni got a little bit noisy, especially for example if you were going to work on a Saturday or on a Sunday morning and people had been out the night before. There's been quite a few times where people literally walked past my bedroom window, even though it was a couple of floors up, on the way back into the building, were very loud at say 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and you're like, I've got to get up in hour, 2, 3 hours anyway, and you're waking me up right now. I can't just go back to sleep and wake up at 1 PM like you're going to do in the morning. And also, this doesn't really matter where you live, but I found that we had a lot more maintenance going on. Not like 24/7, but there'd be maintenance going on maybe a couple of times a week, especially in the summer with the gardens. People would be cleaning windows, especially since it's turned like summer holidays for a lot of students. They've been doing more maintenance because most people aren't living there, so they just want to kind of get it done. And if you're on a night shift and you're trying to sleep through the day, I found that a little bit annoying. That can't be helped. I did invest in some earplugs, but I just kind of got on with it. Okay, and then I want to talk about some of the like things you don't think about. So for us, we had a reception at our uni halls, and I believe most unis do. It meant that we had people who were paid to work there 24 hours a day. We had security overnight, we had like receptionists, and I think security during the day, and they were really good. And they also were just, if you needed a helping hand, if you needed the party upstairs to shut up because it's midnight, they would go and sort that out for you. And it meant that you never missed a parcel. My parcels were delivered like all the time, and they just got them in for me, and I went and collected them. We did have weird collecting hours, so you had to collect between 5 PM and 8 AM, but other than that, like, your parcel's collected, you're all happy, you're all good. Loads of them were really nice to chat to. Like, they used to check your IDs when you came in to make sure you were supposed to be there, and the night guys were really quite stern. If you're bringing someone in, you need to sign them in, but other than that, like, it was quite nice to know that you're not all on your own if something went wrong. And on that, I want to talk about fire alarms. Now, fire alarms are a thing that a lot of people said before I moved to uni that I'd experienced. I, so far, have experienced 2, which I don't think is bad at all. I've had loads in other blocks, but our block was actually pretty good. And so the first one I had was after Christmas, probably like February time, and it was like 1 PM in the afternoon, and it wouldn't have been so bad if I hadn't been working the day before, so I was coming down in like literally not my pyjamas, but basically like loafing around the house clothes, and hadn't had a shower yet, so I felt a little bit embarrassed. I'm really sorry about that. It stopped filming. I must have come to the end of how long I was allowed to film for. I've still got hours up there. Hopefully that's saved. I am going to panic if it's not. And the second I experienced, I am so sorry for my future flatmate. She just come to crash at mine because she's not a nursing student, she's not a midwifery student, she does something totally different. And so she was like, oh, my lease is up, can I come crash at yours? I need to stay over for a night. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Good experience for next year. And 7 AM in the morning is going off, and like we both had to be up, like not early but not like late either anyway. Well, I didn't, but she did. She had an interview, and so like we were getting up and I was like, I am so sorry, I have never been woken up by a fire alarm before in my life. We ended up just having breakfast early and it was all cool, but I was like, I promise I will not set the alarm off in our new house. This was not us, we were in bed. What have I got next? Commute. So commute for me was different to what it will be for a lot of people. If you live on a campus uni, this will be different because your uni halls will probably either be on campus or very near to your campus. If you go to a London uni, you're very likely to have to commute to uni. So my commute was actually quite a distance compared to a lot of other halls. It took me like 45 minutes to an hour depending what campus I was going to. Maybe slightly longer if I was going to the campus across the river, but I went there once for an exam, so that wasn't really a big deal. I am having the same commute next year when I'm living in Zone 2 again. I just found that it was a little bit annoying